My company credit card declined at the coffee shop Tuesday morning. The barista ran it twice, then a third time, each swipe slower than the last. She handed it back with an apologetic shrug and worried eyes. I checked my phone while the line built up behind me, 5 people deep now, all staring at their own phones or at the menu board. The corporate account interface loaded slowly on the weak cafe Wi-Fi, then displayed zero balance in red numbers. I'd had $4,000 allocated Friday afternoon when I last checked before leaving for the weekend. I paid with my personal card. The coffee tasted like burnt metal and disappointment. I called finance from the parking lot, engine running, heat blasting against the morning cold. January in the Midwest meant frozen windshields and breath you could see. This is Valerie Holmes, Lightspeed Technologies, Infrastructure Division. My corporate card was declined. Account number ending in 7492. One moment, please. Keyboard clicks echoed through the speaker. The hold music was something instrumental and vaguely electronic, the kind of music that filled silence without creating anything memorable. Ms. Holmes, I'm showing that your account was transferred to another employee Monday morning. Authorization came from your direct supervisor. My breath fogged the windshield. I turned the defroster up. Who authorized the transfer? Diane Kruger, VP of Operations. The new account holder is Warren Finch. Warren. The name landed like a stone in still water, sending out ripples I could already predict. Thank you for the information, I said. I ended the call. I sat in my car for 3 minutes, watching people walk in and out of the coffee shop. A woman in a blue coat. A man with a briefcase. 2 teenagers laughing about something on a phone screen. Normal people having a normal Tuesday morning. Then I put the car in drive and headed to the office. Diane Kruger hired me 8 months ago to lead the infrastructure rollout for our new data center platform. 23 regional sites across 11 states. 18-month timeline. Budget of $42 million. It was the largest technical project in Lightspeed Technologies' 15-year history, the kind of project that could define a career. I'd spent 6 months building comprehensive specifications from the ground up. I'd vetted 17 contractor firms, visiting facilities, checking certifications, reviewing past performance records. I negotiated service agreements with 4 of them, securing favorable terms and guaranteed response times. I'd personally reviewed building codes for each regional site, consulting with local inspectors and facilities managers. I'd mapped power requirements down to the circuit level, designed cooling systems with triple redundancy, specified security protocols that exceeded industry standards. I'd built relationships with site managers, facilities teams, local permit offices, spending hours on phone calls and site visits to ensure everyone understood the scope and requirements. The rollout meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning at 9. Final presentations to the executive team. My slides were complete, 87 slides covering technical specifications, budget allocation, timeline milestones, risk mitigation strategies, vendor management protocols, and success metrics. My budget was allocated across 19 different line items. My vendors were confirmed and ready to begin, equipment already ordered, installation teams already scheduled. Wednesday afternoon, Diane pulled me into her office without warning. No meeting invitation. No agenda. Just her assistant appearing at my desk and saying, "Diane needs to see you now." "Change of plans for tomorrow," she said. She was standing behind her desk, not sitting. That was never a good sign. In 8 months, I'd learned that Diane sat when she wanted collaboration and stood when she wanted compliance. I'm giving the executive presentation to Warren. Warren Finch sat in the chair beside her desk, grinning like he'd won something valuable. He joined the company 5 weeks ago as a junior project coordinator. His resume listed 3 years at a marketing startup that sold social media analytics software to small businesses. He had no infrastructure experience. No data center background. No technical certifications. No engineering degree. He'd spent our first meeting asking me what a server rack was. "Warren doesn't know the technical requirements," I said. My voice stayed level, professional. "He hasn't reviewed the vendor contracts or the site specifications. He hasn't met with the contractors or the site managers." "He's more energetic than you," Diane replied, gesturing toward him like she was presenting evidence in a trial. The executives respond to energy. They want someone who can sell the vision, not just recite technical details. They want passion and enthusiasm, not spreadsheets. Warren leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together. I've been reviewing your documentation, Val. Really solid foundation work. Seriously impressive technical depth. I'm going to add some pizzazz to the delivery, you know? Make it pop for the C-suite. They need to feel excited about this, not just informed. They need to see the possibilities, not just the processes. I looked at Diane. She was watching me, waiting for a reaction. Waiting to see if I'd argue or push back or show emotion. Waiting to see if I'd give her a reason to label me difficult or uncooperative. Understood, I said. I walked back to my desk. I opened my project files. I began making copies of everything. Thursday morning, Warren presented my rollout plan to the executive board. I wasn't invited to the meeting, but I heard about it from 3 different people within an hour. The details were remarkably consistent across all 3 accounts. He changed 3 critical specifications. He removed the redundancy protocols I'd built into the server architecture, the backup systems that would keep sites operational if primary systems failed. Cutting those saved 14% on equipment costs. He slashed the quality assurance budget by 40%, eliminating the testing phases and certification reviews I'd built into each deployment stage. He reallocated those funds to accelerate installation timelines. He compressed my 18-month rollout schedule into 12 months by eliminating the testing phases I'd built between regional deployments, the careful staged approach that would let us identify and fix problems before they cascaded across multiple sites. The executives loved it. They loved his energy, the way he paced while presenting, the way he used phrases like game-changing and industry-leading and revolutionary approach. They loved his confidence, his certainty that everything would work perfectly. They loved that he promised results faster and cheaper than I had, because faster and cheaper always sounds better than careful and correct. Friday morning, Diane announced Warren as the new infrastructure rollout director in an all-hands email sent at 8:15 a.m. My title changed to technical consultant, infrastructure support. A downgrade wrapped in neutral language. My salary remained the same, but my budget authority vanished like it had never existed. My corporate card was reassigned to Warren. My direct reports, 3 engineers and 2 project coordinators, were reassigned to Warren. My vendor relationships, built over months of negotiations and relationship building, were reassigned to Warren. You'll support Warren during the implementation phase, Diane told me in the hallway outside the main workspace at 10:30 that morning. People walked past us, pretending not to listen, but I could see them slowing down, angling their heads slightly to catch words. He needs someone with your technical background to handle the details while he focuses on leadership and stakeholder management. You'll be his technical resource. Warren appeared beside us, holding an oversized coffee cup with the company logo printed on it. Really looking forward to working together, Val. I've got some bold ideas about how we can streamline your approach, cut through some of the overcomplicated technical stuff. Sometimes you just gotta trust your gut and move fast, you know? That's how innovation happens. That's how you disrupt industries. He walked away, whistling something upbeat and cheerful. I returned to my desk. I opened a new folder on my secure external drive, a 2 terabyte encrypted drive I kept in my locked desk drawer. I labeled it Infrastructure Rollout Documentation, Complete Archive. Then I began systematically copying every email, every contract, every specification document, every meeting note, every vendor communication, every technical drawing I'd created over the past 8 months. 347 files. 6.2 gigabytes of data. I spent the weekend reviewing contracts with a yellow legal pad, 3 colors of highlighter, and a bottle of wine I didn't open. Warren's modifications violated 3 separate vendor agreements. The equipment specifications he'd approved didn't match the contractual requirements we'd negotiated. The accelerated timeline made compliance with our data protection standards functionally impossible. There simply wasn't enough time to complete the required security audits and penetration testing. The removed redundancy systems created liability exposure worth millions if the infrastructure failed during peak operations, and our service level agreements included financial penalties for downtime that could bankrupt entire quarters. Saturday night, I calculated failure probabilities based on the new specifications, using the reliability engineering models I'd learned in graduate school. Riverside site had an 87% chance of thermal shutdown within the first month of operation. The equipment power draw exceeded facility capacity by 47%. The Northwestern cluster, 4 sites in Washington and Oregon, had a 63% chance of cascading failures if any single site went offline, because Warren had eliminated the redundancy protocols that would isolate failures. Monday morning, I compiled a comprehensive risk assessment. 16 pages, single-spaced, professionally formatted. Referenced specific contract clauses with section numbers. Cited technical standards from 3 different regulatory bodies. Listed regulatory requirements with corresponding penalties for noncompliance. I included failure probability calculations with supporting mathematical models. I projected financial exposure for each risk category: equipment replacement, regulatory fines, service credits, legal defense costs, reputation damage. The total exposure range was $8 to $15 million. I sent it to Diane at 8:43 a.m. with a read receipt request and high importance flag. She replied at 8:47, "Warren is handling the rollout now. Please direct all technical concerns through him." 4 minutes. She'd spent 4 minutes on 16 pages of detailed risk analysis. I forwarded the risk assessment to Warren at 8:48. He responded at 9:15, "Thanks for the input. Appreciate you taking the time. I think we're in good shape though. Sometimes you just gotta trust the process and go for it. Don't want to get stuck in analysis paralysis, right? That's what kills innovation." I printed both responses on company letterhead. I saved all emails to 3 separate locations: my external drive, a secure cloud account under a personal email address, and a USB drive I kept in my car's glove compartment. I created a detailed timeline documenting every decision, every authorization, every specification change, with dates and timestamps and the names of everyone involved. Tuesday morning, Warren submitted equipment orders that directly contradicted our existing vendor contracts. The servers he selected, model RX 700 units from a manufacturer we'd specifically rejected during the vetting process, had 30% less processing capacity than the specifications required. The cooling systems were rated for facilities half the size of our actual sites. The power supplies drew 4,800 watts per unit instead of the 3,200 watts I'd specified. I sent him an email at 10:12 a.m. flagging the discrepancies. Attached the original specifications. Highlighted the contractual requirements. Explained the capacity shortfall and the safety implications. He replied at 10:51 with a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. Wednesday, he scheduled installation dates that violated regional permit requirements in 4 different states. Washington required 30-day advance notice for electrical work above certain amperage thresholds. Oregon required certified inspections before activation. California required seismic safety certifications for equipment racks. Arizona required water usage permits for cooling systems. Warren's schedule ignored all of it. I sent documented evidence of the permit requirements and the penalties for noncompliance. 6 pages of regulatory citations and permit office contact information. He replied at 3:27 p.m., "Permits are just red tape. We'll handle it. The lawyers can smooth things over if needed." Thursday, he approved contractor bids from firms that lacked proper electrical and data center certifications. One firm's electrical license had expired 8 months ago. Another had been cited for safety violations on 3 previous projects. A third had never worked on a data center facility before and specialized in residential construction. I sent copies of the certification requirements and detailed explanations of the liability exposure for using uncertified contractors. Workers' compensation issues. Insurance coverage gaps. Code violation penalties. He replied at 4:15, "These guys came in 20% under budget. That's what matters. We can't let perfect be the enemy of good." I documented each action in my timeline spreadsheet. I sent formal objections through email with technical justifications, supporting evidence, and regulatory citations. Warren ignored most of them. Diane marked my messages as read and never responded beyond that initial 4-minute reply. Friday afternoon at 2:38, Warren stopped by my desk. He perched on the edge of it, 1 foot on the floor, casual and relaxed, like we were old friends having a chat. "Hey Val, so I talked to Diane this morning. Heart to heart, you know? She thinks maybe you're not the best fit for this phase of the project. Too much negativity, too much focus on problems instead of solutions. We need team players who believe in the vision, who are excited about what we're building here, who want to be part of something revolutionary." I closed the technical report I'd been reading. I see. Yeah, so maybe it's time to update your resume? Explore some other opportunities that might be a better cultural fit? Diane's probably going to have a conversation with you soon about transitioning to a different role. Or, like, transitioning out entirely. Just wanted to give you a heads up, friend to friend. Didn't want you to be blindsided. He smiled. His teeth were very white, probably professionally bleached. Thank you for letting me know, I said. He walked away, whistling again, the same upbeat tune as before. I opened my desk drawer. I reviewed my documentation checklist. Emails, backed up in 3 locations. Contracts, printed and filed in chronological order. Specifications, saved with complete version histories showing every change. Risk assessments, dated and preserved with all supporting calculations. Timeline, complete and detailed with every decision point marked. Communication records, organized by date and recipient. I closed the drawer. Then I opened my laptop and began drafting formal correspondence to Lightspeed Technologies' Legal Compliance Department, carefully documenting my concerns and attaching supporting evidence. Warren posted on LinkedIn Saturday morning at 7:36 a.m., excited to announce I'm leading the largest infrastructure rollout in Lightspeed Technologies' history. When you bet on yourself and bring innovative energy to the table, amazing things happen. So grateful for this opportunity to show what's possible when you're not afraid to challenge conventional thinking and push past the limitations that hold most people back. Can't wait to share the results with everyone. This is just the beginning of something incredible. #leadership, #innovation, #disrupt the norm, #bet on yourself, #future of tech. The post had 83 likes by noon. 42 comments congratulating him, calling him inspirational, asking for career advice. 6 people from our company added supportive messages. Someone from his previous job wrote, "Always knew you'd do big things." A recruiter commented asking if he'd be interested in discussing opportunities. The engagement metrics kept climbing. Sunday evening at 6:47, he posted a photo from an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind with exposed brick walls and Edison bulb lighting and entrees that cost $40. He was sitting across from Diane, both of them holding wine glasses with deep red wine, both smiling at the camera. Diane's smile looked genuine. Celebrating the start of an incredible journey with my amazing boss Diane Kruger. She took a chance on fresh thinking and unconventional approaches, and now we're about to change the game completely. So grateful for leaders who recognize talent and aren't afraid to empower people who bring new energy and bold vision to the table. This is just the beginning. Watch this space. #mentorship, #winning, #leadership, #grateful, #changemakers. Diane commented within 20 minutes, so proud to work with future leaders like Warren. This is what happens when you empower people who aren't afraid to take risks and push boundaries. Excited to see what we accomplish together. The best is yet to come. 12 other people from Lightspeed Technologies liked Diane's comment. I took screenshots of both posts. I added them to my documentation folder with timestamps and engagement metrics. I labeled the subfolder Evidence of Leadership Awareness and Public Statements. Then I saved copies to all 3 backup locations. Monday morning, the first installation began at our Riverside regional site in Southern California. Warren flew out to oversee it personally, first-class ticket charged to the project budget. He posted photos from the facility throughout the day, hard hat, safety vest, thumbs up beside server racks that gleamed under fluorescent lights. Standing with the contractor team, everyone in matching safety gear. Pointing at equipment with an expression of confident authority. The photos were professionally composed, probably taken by someone he'd brought along specifically for documentation. Day 1 of changing infrastructure forever, his caption read at 11:23 a.m. When you move fast and trust your team, incredible things happen. This is what bold leadership looks like. This is what happens when you stop overthinking and start executing. #innovation, #leadership, #getting it done. The post got 97 likes by end of business. Tuesday afternoon at 3:15, the Riverside site manager called me directly on my desk phone. His name was Frank Ortega. I'd worked with him for 4 months during the planning phase, spending hours on phone calls and 2 site visits where we walked through every room, every panel, every connection point. "Valerie, we have a serious problem out here. The equipment Warren's team installed doesn't match the power requirements in the facility specifications you sent me back in November. We're running at 62% over rated capacity. The electrical panel is registering temperatures 15 degrees above normal operating range. The main breaker is warm to the touch. This is an immediate fire hazard. I've got $47,000 worth of customer data processing equipment that could go up in flames. I pulled up the Riverside facility specs on my screen. What equipment did they install? Model RX 700 server banks. 12 units. Each unit draws 4,800 watts under full load. The facility electrical system is rated for 40,000 watts total capacity, and that's with safety margins built in. We're projected to hit 57,000 watts at full operation when all the customer accounts migrate over. That's 42% above rated capacity, and we're already seeing heat issues with only 6 units operational. 47% over capacity. I'd specified Model RX 500 units. Lower power draw, higher efficiency, designed specifically for facilities with limited electrical capacity. Fully compliant with facility ratings and safety codes. Document everything, Frank. Take photos of the equipment tags showing the model numbers. Photograph the electrical panel readings with timestamps. Photograph the temperature readings. Document the installation records showing who approved what. Email Warren and Diane with your concerns. Use the specific phrases immediate safety concern and potential code violation. Those are the trigger phrases that require formal responses under company policy. Keep records of all responses or lack thereof. I already emailed Warren this morning at 9:45. He replied at 10:30 saying it's fine, that the specs have flexibility built in, that I'm being overly cautious. The specs don't have flexibility on electrical capacity. Physics doesn't negotiate. Email again. Copy Diane. Copy your facilities director. Copy the site safety coordinator. Make it formal and documented. Send me copies of everything. Will do. He paused, and I could hear equipment humming in the background, the sound of cooling fans running at high speed. Valerie, this feels bad. Really bad. Like someone's going to get hurt bad. Like we're going to have a catastrophic failure that makes the news. That's why we document it, I said. Paper trail protects you when things go wrong. Should I shut it down? I have the authority to kill power if there's a safety risk. I wanted to say yes. But I knew what would happen if he did. Warren would blame him. Diane would blame him. They'd say he panicked, overreacted, cost the company money and schedule time. He'd be the one who got punished. Document everything first, I said. Make sure your concerns are on record with timestamps. Then make your safety decision based on your professional judgment. Whatever you decide, make sure it's documented and justified. Wednesday, the Riverside installation continued despite Frank's warnings. Warren posted another photo at 2:17 p.m., equipment racks lit with blue LED strips, cable management looking clean and professional, everything visually perfect. When they said it couldn't be done this fast, we proved them wrong. Success isn't about following old playbooks and traditional timelines, it's about bold execution and trusting your vision. This is what happens when you refuse to accept limitations. #leadership, #innovation, #breaking barriers. The post got 112 likes. Diane commented, "This is leadership in action. This is what the future looks like." Warren replied to her comment, "Couldn't do it without your support and vision." Thursday morning at 6:47 a.m., my phone rang. Diane's name on the screen. I was still in bed, alarm not set to go off for another 23 minutes. "Hello? Get to the office. Now. We have a situation." She hung up without waiting for a response. I arrived at 7:32. The parking lot was already half full, unusual for this early. Diane was in the main workspace, standing near the entrance, her face red, her posture rigid with barely contained fury. She was wearing the same clothes as yesterday. She probably hadn't gone home. Why did his plan fall apart? Her voice carried across 3 rows of desks, bouncing off the low ceiling tiles and the fabric-covered cubicle walls. 15 people stopped working and turned to look. Keyboards went silent. Coffee cups paused halfway to mouths. Someone's desk phone rang and nobody answered it. I was at my desk, reading an email from Lightspeed Technologies' General Counsel's office requesting all documentation related to the Riverside installation. The email had arrived at 6:51 a.m., marked urgent and confidential, with instructions to preserve all records and communications. Which part failed? I asked. My voice was calm, measured, the same tone I'd used in hundreds of project meetings. Riverside site went down at 2:14 a.m. Pacific Time. Complete thermal shutdown. Every server went into emergency power-off mode simultaneously. The entire server bank is offline. We have 40,000 customer accounts with no internet service. Warren is on site right now, has been there since 3 a.m. their time, saying the equipment is wrong, the contractors installed it wrong, the facility specs are wrong, the whole thing is wrong. Everything is somebody else's fault. I need you to fix this immediately. I need you on a plane to California in the next 2 hours. I closed my laptop carefully, deliberately. I sent you a comprehensive risk assessment 12 days ago outlining these exact failure scenarios with probability calculations and technical justifications. You responded that Warren was handling the rollout and told me to direct all concerns through him. I don't care what you sent 12 days ago. I care about 40,000 customers with no service right now. I care about an executive team that wants explanations in 2 hours when they arrive. I care about a disaster that's costing us thousands of dollars every hour. The equipment Warren ordered violated the facility power specifications by 47%, I said. I documented that concern in 3 separate emails sent over the past 9 days, with technical justifications, supporting calculations, and regulatory citations. I received no substantive response beyond dismissive acknowledgments. Diane's expression shifted from anger to something colder, more calculating. You're saying you knew this would happen? You're saying you predicted this exact failure? I identified the risk with specific probability calculations showing an 87% chance of thermal shutdown within 30 days of activation. I communicated the risk through proper channels with documentary evidence and technical support. My authority to prevent the risk was removed when you reassigned my budget authorization and director status to Warren on May 7th. She stared at me for 7 seconds. The office was completely silent now. Even the background hum of the HVAC system seemed quieter. Everyone was watching. Come to my office. Now. Bring everything you have. I picked up my phone, my laptop, and my external drive from the locked drawer. I followed her across the workspace. Everyone watched us walk. I could feel their eyes tracking our movement like spectators at a tennis match. Diane's office door closed with a soft click that somehow sounded loud. She sat behind her desk heavily, like sitting required effort. I remained standing, laptop tucked under my arm, external drive in my hand. What exactly did you document? Her voice was different now. Controlled. Careful. The voice of someone who knows they're on dangerous ground. 16-page comprehensive risk assessment covering contract violations, safety concerns, timeline impossibilities, and regulatory noncompliance. Sent to you with read receipt on May 14th at 8:43 a.m. You confirmed receipt at 8:47 a.m. Forwarded to Warren same day at 8:48 a.m. His response at 9:15 indicated he planned to proceed despite identified risks. Subsequently sent 9 individual emails over the following 12 days flagging specific concerns for Riverside site equipment orders, installation scheduling, contractor certification requirements, and electrical capacity violations. All emails preserved with timestamps, read receipts, and complete response records. I also have copies of all original specifications, all of Warren's modified specifications, all equipment orders, all contractor agreements, and all communications with site managers including Frank Ortega's warnings about electrical capacity issues sent Monday of this week. Why didn't you escalate this to someone above me? Why didn't you go to the executive team or the board? To whom specifically? You are my direct supervisor and the VP overseeing this project with full budget authority. You assigned Warren as director and explicitly instructed me to direct all concerns through him in your email dated May 14th at 8:47 a.m. I followed that instruction precisely. Warren dismissed every concern with documented responses showing clear disregard for technical requirements and safety standards. You didn't respond to my documented communications beyond the initial acknowledgement directing me to Warren. The chain of command was clear. I followed it. Diane leaned back in her chair. Her hands were flat on the desk surface, fingers spread wide. The executive team is furious. Our CEO has been on the phone since 3 a.m. Our general counsel wants a full investigation into how this happened and who's responsible. Our insurance carrier is asking detailed questions about negligence and whether we followed proper procedures. If this goes badly, people are going to lose their jobs. Possibly face personal legal consequences. Possibly face criminal negligence charges if it turns out we ignored known safety risks. Yes, I said. No elaboration. Just acknowledgement. She flinched slightly at my tone, at the lack of emotion or concern in my voice. Can you fix the Riverside site? I can restore the system to my original specifications, I said. That means replacing every piece of equipment Warren ordered with what I specified in the December 7th plan. His contractor agreements need to be terminated and replaced with the teams I originally vetted. Minimum timeline, 3 weeks. 2 to remove failed equipment and repair electrical damage. 1 to install, test, and certify. 3 weeks? Diane said. We'll lose millions. There is no faster option that doesn't recreate the same failure, I replied. Rushing now would be making the same mistake twice. She went still. What about the other sites? For installations, Portland, Seattle, Phoenix, Austin, are using the same flawed specs. They'll fail within 2 weeks of activation. 3 more are scheduled next month. Total exposure is 8 to 12 million, not counting reputational damage. She exhaled hard. What do you need? Written authority. Full budget control restored. Immediate termination of Warren's orders and contracts. Formal documentation that his decisions bypassed my review and that my objections were dismissed. And Warren removed from all access immediately. He's already blaming you, she said quietly. I have badge logs, signed approvals, contractor invoices, and documented objections. If he alleges sabotage, I'll provide evidence. If he continues, it becomes defamation. Sunlight crept across her office before she finally nodded. Fix Riverside. I'll handle Warren. I need it in writing. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Full authority. Warren removed. Executive team copied. Satisfied, I went to work. Warren was terminated Monday morning. Security escorted him out 11 minutes later. Legal reviewed my documentation for 6 hours and closed the matter. Riverside went live 19 days later. 0 issues. I canceled the remaining equipment orders before shipment, saving $400,000. All 23 sites launched on my original specs. 0 safety incidents. Customer retention rose 7%. The CEO issued a formal commendation. Industry publications noticed. Warren now posts about learning from failure. Amazing things did happen. Just not the way he imagined.